We're going to start with social media strategy. You always want to begin any marketing, any social media marketing with strategy. And the reason for that is because resources are always limited. Time, budget, expertise, what the business is considering to be a priority, all this really matters, and that matters because budgets are limited and bandwidth is limited. So you first think about, what are your business goals relative to social media? What do you need to achieve for the business? And who is your target audience? Who is your persona that you're trying to reach? And on which social media platforms do you want to focus, at what timing and frequency, and what metrics you will track? So you'll see in the beginning of this presentation, and when we get through the first 5 sections like this, then we'll stop and take questions about the strategy. And then after that, we'll talk more about posting and algorithms and things like that. So first, start with your business goals. And there are different goals that you can achieve with social media. You might want to increase your brand awareness. You might want to generate interest or get website traffic. Everybody says, oh, I want to do all these things. Well, it's difficult to do everything all at once. And you may confuse your social media followers if you're trying to be all things to all people at all times. So you need to focus in and look at what are some of the things that your social media strategy could do and where your brand is in the buyer's journey. Well, what's the buyer's journey? And that's where Alyssa comes in.
Yeah, so just a little bit like those goals that Nancy was referring to in the previous slide, all of those goals kind of fall somewhere within the buyer's journey. And what this is this is the process buyers go through when they first become aware of your brand, all the way down to when they become advocates for your brand or brand ambassadors, so to speak. They're purchasing all the time. So this is kind of the funnel that you want to follow. And you want to focus on, in your social media strategy, you want to make sure that you're focusing on one key area of this buyer's journey. Otherwise, it might get confusing to your customers if you're trying to do too much. So you want to focus on, and we're going to refer to things like top of the funnel. And top of the funnel is really the awareness stage. Middle of the funnel is interest and consideration. People are already aware of your brand, but you're trying to get them to consider purchasing your products or services. And then at the bottom of the funnel are your customers. They're those people that have purchased, or maybe they're repurchased, they're brand ambassadors. So this is really the journey that the buyer goes through in that process.
Pop quiz. Okay, you guys thought you were going to be checking your email while you're on this webinar? No, we have a pop quiz. So use your chat to answer these questions. So the question is tofu, mofu, or bofu. So tofu is top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, or bofu, bottom of the funnel. So where do these fit into your funnel? You want to serve as a customer support. Just type in the chat. Alyssa's minding the chat. I'm minding the website, the presentation advancement. What do we see there, Melissa? What's service customer support?
Any ideas, anybody? Oh, we have a bofu, a couple of bofus.
It is bofu, bottom of the funnel, because you've already got a customer. Drive website traffic.
What do you think, guys?
Tofu,
We have
bofu, or bofu?
tofus.
What do we have?
Tofu.
It should be middle of the funnel, because they have to be like interested or consider a little bit before they want to go into the funnel. Generate leads.
Generate leads. What do we think, everybody? Seeing some tofus and some mofus.
Definitely mofu, because we're going to get them interested and they're going to consider it. So before they purchase, you have to show some interest. You could have some awareness, but not so much. Grow revenue.
Go bofu.
Bofu, right? Because they're customers. They've made the purchase. Create a community and generate engagement.
I'm seeing tofu and a couple of mofus in here.
Yeah, and you know what? It could be all three, because you can create a community, that you are creating awareness. I would say it's more mofu and bofu though, because you can create a community of your customers and what they're, you know, your brand advocates, your brand ambassadors that want to be part of it. Okay, here's a gimme: increase brand awareness. Tofu.
Tofu. Yep.
Tofu.
Tofu.
Social listening, kind of another trick question. Because it could be really, what do we have there, Melissa?
We have some tofu. Couple of tofus. Bofu.
Mm-hmm. Because you can listen at different areas, like they even could be strangers. Well, they have to have awareness. They have to be at least top of the funnel. They have to understand and know about your brand, but you could have social listening at any level of the brand. Distribute content.
We have a mofu. Tofu.
Yeah, I'd say tofu and mofu, because it's the beginning. You're getting them interested. Maybe you have some interesting content, and that helps make them aware of your brand. And then if they're starting to be interested or consider after they read it, and then increase mentions in the press. A lot like social listening.
We have a tofu. Tofu.
Good. It could really, again, mentions in the press, yeah, pretty much top awareness. Like, are you getting that awareness out there, that buyer's journey? So that was the first thing. Melissa's going to, sorry, I keep calling you that today. Alyssa is going to talk to you about persona a little bit more here.
Yeah, so a couple slides ago, we defined persona, and these are just a few of the characteristics that make up your target audience or persona. Things like age, gender, location, income. You see that little graphic, you know, maybe that's Megan the mom, you know, she's got 2 kids, she's looking, you know, her income. So you want to think about that, who you're targeting, and that will determine what platforms you use and what type of content you post.
Okay. All right, let's talk about choosing that platform.
Yeah, so once you kind of have your target audience in mind, you can kind of match that up. This is a slide that from Pew Research. So this is a lot of quick numbers. I'm not going to go through all of the numbers, but I am going to talk about some of the platforms. And you'll see some of the red arrows pointing towards Pinterest, Snapchat, and Twitter. Those are 3 platforms that we're not going to cover in depth today. Not to say they're not valuable platforms, they're just a little bit more niche. For example, Pinterest is more of the DIY platform. It's great for brands that do DIY. It has less men, but quality images are a must. And then when looking at Snapchat, that's very popular with teens, a very creative platform, but it's difficult for brands to leverage. It doesn't have the robust search functionality that some of the other platforms have. And then we have Twitter. Twitter is speedy, it's great news media, but it's difficult to grow an audience on Twitter. And then there's one other platform that I want to just touch on briefly, and that's TikTok. So TikTok has been rising at an astronomical pace among teens recently. So it's a great thing for teens to use. They're creating those music videos and things like that. It's a little bit more difficult for brands to leverage. They are creating TikTok for business, but one thing that we have seen in the news recently is security concerns with that platform. So you might have heard companies, I believe Wells Fargo has banned the app among employees' phones over security concerns and things like that. So just something to be aware of if you are considering TikTok for your business. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the platforms we are going to cover in depth today. And those platforms are YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And we're covering these platforms because you can see the massive audience that these platforms generate. YouTube, 91% of adults 18 to 29 are on YouTube, and etc. Same for Facebook and Instagram. And LinkedIn, while it has a little bit less usage, especially among the younger demographics, we do think it's very important. Since it is a professional platform, it's very important for your business to have a presence there. And so now we're going to dive right into the platform specifically. And we're going to talk about YouTube first. I'm not going to go in depth into all the demographics on the right side. Again, you can refer back to this when we send out the slides following this webinar. But I'm going to go over a few of the top features of the platform. So the great thing about YouTube is that it encourages long form video content, whereas other platforms like Facebook and Instagram perform better with shorter videos, maybe 15 seconds or less. YouTube really encourages that long form video. So the thing about YouTube is it's easily searchable. It's really easy. We're going to talk about tags and algorithms a little bit later in the presentation, but you can put a lot of tags on your videos that will help them be searched by your audience. So it's great if you have how-to videos, customer reviews, product demonstrations. This is a great way to leverage the YouTube platform. And also, one thing to consider too is they're rolling out an e-commerce ad unit, which is really cool because you can have your video at the top and then you can have kind of a product guide below where people can click to shop on all of your products. And I read something this morning that TechCrunch reported that 70% of people claim they've bought a product they saw in a YouTube video. So it's really cool. It's a great place for your brand to be if you want to show people how to use what you're selling, and that e-commerce ad unit that's going to be coming soon is really going to be beneficial for brands.
Great. Let's talk a little bit about Facebook. It's probably the most widely known social media platform out there. It's hugely popular. It's actually the most popular for businesses, especially business to consumer businesses. And it's a good place to start if you're trying to dip your toe into social media. Again, consider your persona, and then consider also like what your customers are asking for. So for example, when Alyssa was talking about YouTube being great for how-to videos, if you have a product that's a little confusing to use, create some how-to videos so that your customers can participate in that. So Facebook offers so many different things. It's a really flexible platform. It has Facebook Live, it has the posts, it has stories and posts, it has ads, it has groups, it has chat bots. It's also a platform that you can manage very easily within the platform itself, where you don't need a different scheduling tool because you can schedule right there in Facebook. And you can now also schedule Instagram within your Facebook platform. So if you haven't checked out that recently, take a look, because it used to be that you had to go on Instagram, you could post to Facebook from Instagram on your phone, but you couldn't be on a desktop, which oftentimes at work, a desktop is more convenient to use. And now Facebook has that availability where you can choose like where you're posting. Now, one thing about teens and millennials, even though they're on here, you can see it says 76% of 18 to 24-year-olds are on Facebook. And all this data, all these little icons that you see on every single slide, and the first two slides that we showed with the demographics, they're all from this Pew Research. So going to this link, you can find just a huge table with everything that you need on it. But the teens and millennials, they're not always interacting as much on Facebook. You are finding like there's like Facebook mom groups that are pretty active and things like that, but a lot of millennials and young adults are saving their real interaction for Instagram, and they have, what they post is for their grandparents or whatever, kind of just for a public outlet. And then that's all really I need to say about Facebook at this time.
So Instagram is really, really popular among the millennial audience. So if your target audience falls within that demographic, then Instagram is definitely a place you want to be. It's a very visual platform. And the great thing about Instagram is that it's so easy to like, share, comment on posts that they typically see a high engagement level on Instagram. So, and especially captions that are short, maybe even 1 to 50 characters, get the highest level of engagement. So it's really all about the images and videos that you're sharing on Instagram. The thing to keep in mind too is if you have an Instagram account, you want to make sure that it's an Instagram business account. And it's really easy. You just go to the settings to make your Instagram account a business profile, because what that will get you is a lot of robust analytics. So you can really see how each of your posts are performing, and you can see what's working for your audience and what isn't working in real time with that business account. And so one thing you want to keep in mind with Instagram is while it does have high engagement, it does have a little bit lower conversion. So it's a little bit harder to convert on Instagram posts unless you're using shoppable posts. It's really a great place to be if you're doing more top of the funnel and middle of the funnel. If you remember the buyer's journey that we talked about, generating awareness and interest in your brand, that's a great place to put content on for Instagram.
Great. I want to talk a little bit about LinkedIn. And as you can see, the percentage of all US adults is 27%, but it is definitely a great professional networking platform. So if you're professionals or you're a B2B, business to business or a publishing company, you need to be on LinkedIn. And if you need to hire people, professional people, your job seekers are going to be on LinkedIn. It's a great place to showcase thought leadership. It's gotten better at tracking analytics, and it now uses hashtags and @signs. So you can tag people. When you put the @sign in front of someone's name that you're connected to, it'll populate their name and let them know that you just posted about them. And there's a little less interaction than some of the other channels, but it really does serve its purpose in terms of being a business-to-business platform. If you're a sales rep, you really need to be on there to engage with other professionals in business. And if you're a business owner, you should have a robust, like, personal profile on LinkedIn so that people who want to check you out or meet with you or just to know more about you can really see that you're optimized. And we'll talk more about algorithms and optimization later. All right, pop quiz. Time to put away the email again. So this is a good one because it's which platform is best. So just type in the chat. So for B2B.
LinkedIn.
Yep. Customers need guidance on product use.
We have Facebook, YouTube.
YouTube's a great one for that. Yep. New B2C company.
Anybody B2C? We have Facebook, LinkedIn.
Facebook is really good for a new B2C company. Remember, it's a great place to start dabbling. And, unless your customers aren't, for some reason, your persona isn't on Facebook, I would say that goes with Facebook. DIY crafts.
Pinterest.
Yep. Preteen and teen audiences.
We have an Instagram, Snapchat.
Yep, Snapchat and TikTok, which is perhaps a national security risk. Gourmet restaurant images. You have great
Instagram
pictures.
And Facebook, where I'm seeing.
Yes, Instagram is great. Remember, if you're like a waste management company, there's probably not a lot of point in being on Instagram. But if you are, if you're a restaurant, or as Alyssa said, or you're showing houses, you're a realtor, or you're showing design, it's a great place to be. So millennials, where are the millennials hanging out these days?
Millennials, Instagram. We have a couple of Instas.
Yeah, Insta and Facebook. Want to schedule and track within the platform.
We have a Facebook.
Facebook's good for that, definitely. Breaking news. Where are you going to tell the reporter something?
We have a Twitter.
Yep.
Twitter.
Tweet. Multi-generational audiences. Where are you going to hit the most from young people to old people?
We have a lot of the Facebooks.
Yep, targeted consumer ads.
We're seeing some Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, great. Need to hire more professionals.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, real estate or interior design market. Oops, kind of gave that one away earlier, didn't I? Yep.
Instagram.
That's it. So, college students.
Facebook we have.
Hmm.
We have TikTok,
TikTok,
Instagram.
Instagram,
Someone
Snapchat.
wrote in MySpace.
Yeah, this year, that's great. Middle-aged adults. Where are the middle-aged adults most likely to be on social media?
Facebook.
Facebook. And establish your thought leadership.
We have LinkedIn.
Yeah, very good. All right. And Alyssa's going to talk a little bit about timing and frequency of when to post and how often.
Yeah, so as we're going through creating your strategy, you want to think about your target audience, which platform you're going to use, but also it's important to determine the timing and the frequency that you're going to be posting. And we'll get into this a little bit more when we talk about the algorithms and how that plays out. But the great thing about these social media platforms is they have such robust insights and analytics that you can actually, they've honed in on what are the best times to post. So I'm not going to go through each one individually. Again, you can refer back to this when we send out this PowerPoint, but it just gives you an idea of where to start. Where are the best places? You know, obviously on a Thursday night at 2 a.m., nobody's really going to see your post. And then in fact, your post might get downgraded by some of the algorithms, and it might actually end up being shown to less people overall if you post at that time. So you definitely want to be thinking about that as you go through.
All right. And the last thing that we want to consider regarding strategy is the metrics. And really your metrics, what you're going to measure, depends on what the purpose of your social media is. For example, if you're doing how-to videos on YouTube, you might see, you know, how long people are watching the video. Are they watching all the way through? Are they watching part way through? Are they clicking on it and then abandoning it? You know, how helpful is your video? How many people are you getting to see on it? And all the different things that you can measure are here. You know, you can, for revenue, you can do number of purchases, your dollar volume, your profit. So there's all sorts of different things that you can measure, and you can refer back to this when you're setting up your metrics. So it really depends on what your goals are. All right, we're taking questions in the chat. So if you have any questions up to now, we will be talking more about posting and algorithms going forward a little bit more. I'll show you the next slide. We're talking about optimizing the algorithms, the posting, and running ads in the next section. So if you have questions on that, if you could hold off. But if you have questions on the strategy and how to choose what platform to use and what the platforms are good for, feel free to reach out.
Any questions on strategy?
No questions?
I don't think so. And if you have any questions along the way too, you can put them in the chat and we'll just address them at the end. Oh, someone just posted starting as a travel agent.
Very good. So I would say what about starting as a travel agent? Like what platform to use, or?
Rich, could you clarify in the chat, specifically, are you looking at what type of platform to use, what you should be focusing on in your strategy?
So since you're a new company, it sounds like you want to start with some awareness about your company. Because you have great images, I would use a combination probably of Facebook and Instagram. Facebook, you know, it kind of depends on who your target audience is, but if you're looking for people with more disposable income, they might be a little bit older, so they might be on Facebook. At the same time, you can post such wonderful images. So Instagram would be a great platform for that. Is that the question, Alyssa?
Yeah, he just said, yeah, best way to start, Facebook, YouTube.
Yeah, I would say definitely, I would probably start with Facebook and Instagram. and you can put your videos on, you can host them on YouTube, but also have them link to your social media or on your website. What do you think, Alyssa? Anything to add to that?
I agree. I think Instagram is definitely a strong platform to be, because there's so much travel imagery on that. So that's definitely a great place to start. And then we have one more question from Nancy Van Broekhoven. How many strategies can one reasonably have? For example, awareness and engagement for those who purchase at the same time?
So I think sometimes you might use different platforms for different things. And certainly once you get your people past awareness, like if you have good awareness, if you're already, Nike, you don't have to work on awareness. But yes, I think you can start expanding your strategy. And if you're able to purchase on there, then yes, you could measure your purchases, but you just want to kind of focus in and know exactly what it is that you're trying to do. Like if you're trying to create awareness, is it brand awareness? Is it product awareness? So are you trying to just get visibility? Or if you're really trying to generate sales, then you're going to need to be getting like leads or true sales on the platform. What would you add to that, Alyssa?
Yeah, and I would also just say you want to also think about who your personas are. Who is your target audience when you're thinking about this? And that will kind of drive the strategies that you have. Obviously, you don't want to have too many strategies or your posts are going to get convoluted and it's going to be confusing to people. But again, always keep in mind your target audience.
So, any more questions in the chat, Alyssa?
That's all I'm seeing right now.
Okay.
Again, we'll revisit the questions at the end as well, so you can always clarify.
Yeah, to ask questions as you go along too. If something sparks your mind, that feel free. So we're going to talk a little bit about executing on strategy. So one of the things, the image on the right is something that I saw on a profile image of an attorney on LinkedIn. I hope nobody knows him, but I thought this was really inappropriate for LinkedIn. You have him guzzling a beer, and I think they're having kind of a sippy contest there, but he's in his swim trunks and flip-flops and a t-shirt. If you're looking for an attorney, you want somebody who looks buttoned up, who has a suit. If you're in trouble with the law or you're trying to stay out of trouble with the law, you don't want somebody who looks like they aren't going to take it seriously. So you want to optimize your profile both in images and you want to think about the keyword phrases that your customers will use to find you. And you want to use their language. So often brands will use the initials or like internal jargon, oh, they wanted our CKO or, whatever the initials are of their product. And if that's not how the consumers are asking for it, or that's not how your business are asking for it, they won't find you, because remember, robots are determining these algorithms and they don't know that CKO stands for the same thing as what your customers are searching for, lead pencils or whatever it might be. So you need to, not sure where that came from, but so you need to craft a strong bio that has your keyword phrases. You want to optimize your profile, and you always want to consider your brand and how it looks, and you have a consistent voice and header images and icons. And if you're not a good speller, have someone else look over your post or have someone else do the post for you, because nothing looks worse than, a lot of typos or poor spelling in a profile.
And you also want to make sure that you're varying your content across the platforms. We talked a little bit about each of the platforms and there's the strengths of each one. So you want to make sure that you're not posting the same thing across all the platforms. You want to add value. If you're on Facebook and Instagram, you want to give your audience value on each of those platforms individually. And kind of as we referred to, those shorter captions do better on Instagram. On Facebook, you can add a link and things like that. So you want to make sure that you're tailoring your messaging to the strengths of each platform. And always remember, social is about building relationships. Social is a way that you can connect with your audience individually. So you want to be sure you're checking your comments and messages daily and responding promptly to your any prospects or customers. If people are posting questions, you want to make sure that you're responding in a timely manner. And then also then you're building your brand clout along the way by being active and building and expanding those relationships.
Very good.
And so now we've been talking a lot about algorithms. So now we're going to get into the algorithms of each platform. These are constantly changing, but this is what the platforms value right now and how to get your content prioritized and shown to more people. So in the context of YouTube prioritizes content that is relevant. So that is determined by the title of your video, by the tags you attach to your video, the description you create, and the actual content of the video. So you want to make sure, even when you're thinking about the title of your YouTube video, you want that to be impactful, because that's going to affect how YouTube prioritizes your post. YouTube also pays attention to watch times. So content that in videos that people engage with or watch longer are going to be prioritized and shown to more people. And then again, the quality of the content. So YouTube's going to pay attention to which channels are demonstrating expertise and trustworthiness. And then they're going to prioritize those posts as well. And some quick tips at the bottom. We definitely encourage the use of SEO by placing tags on your YouTube videos. You'll see the image over to the right with the red arrow pointing to tags. It might be a little small, but again, you can reference it when we send this out. But for example, this video is about public speaking. So they have tags, public speaking tips, public speaking, speaking publicly. So that you want to make sure that you're attaching those tags to your video, because that will help when people search for those topics. And frequency is important to build your audience. You want to make sure that you're posting consistently and you don't just have a YouTube channel that's sitting stagnant. You want people to continue visiting your profile and looking at your videos. So frequency is always important in that respect.
All right, let's talk about the Facebook algorithm. So these days, Facebook prioritizes content from friends and family members, and they prioritize that over business posts. The reason for that is because if they make you pay for an ad to get your business shown, you're more likely to have to buy the ads, which they can make money on. So you will see posts more often from family and friends than from businesses. You'll also see content from people you engage with most, unless the posts are really very popular with everyone, and then they will show them to the people that you don't like as well or aren't as involved with. It also favors the number and length of comments. So if you just say great post or something like that, that's not going to get that post prioritized. And also having a number of varied reaction, a surprise, a heart, different things that, a hug, what is the different reactions? So varied reactions and a lot of reactions. And also posting groups are prioritized. So that is an advantage. And I did talk about those other things there. So then use your profile as a business owner or start an employee advocacy program. In other words, if you are posting as your business and you're not getting that traffic organically for free, you might try posting as yourself about your business. And then you could set the post to public to gain some traction with followers. And then post content such as questions to inspire engagement and lengthy comments. So what you want to do is you ask a question that you think might entice people to answer. You want to do that. And then you can also utilize Facebook video. And remember, the content, the more people engage with content and the more time they dwell on your post or on your video, the more likely the algorithm is to favor it. So one thing to keep in mind is that people tend to favor posts with images over just text. People tend to favor video over just an image. So that's why sometimes, even though the algorithm may not favor video or certain pictures, because the people are engaging with them more, it in turn impacts the algorithm. So let's talk a little bit about Facebook ad targeting. And you can also have your Facebook ads appear on Instagram, even if you're not really very active or even have a business account on Instagram. They can show your posts to another audience. These are just some of the things, and when you get this, you can click on this link, and you will see that there are subcategories under each of these things. It's kind of scary, I guess, a little bit that Facebook has all this information on everyone, but they know what your politics are, life events, fitness and wellness, all these different things. And so, for example, it has moms and parents here. There are 11 different mom group categories. So there's big city moms, corporate moms, fit moms, green moms, moms of grade school, mom of high school, moms of preschool, new moms, stay-at-home moms, trendy moms, etc. And then there's also 7 categories of parents: new parents, parents with toddlers, parents with preschoolers, parents with early childhood children, parents with teenagers, parents with adult children. So they're really, really able to target very well, which can help you with this part of it when you're boosting a post or you're posting something that you want to get the most bang for your buck. So if Facebook is pay to play as a business, you can be very targeted in who's seeing those ads and how they're engaging with them. And then you can see if you're getting your return on your investment.
Yes, and so now we're going to talk about Instagram. So Instagram has the same targeting capabilities as they're owned by Facebook. So the ads and all the categories that Nancy just talked about also apply to Instagram. And one thing too that I want to point out is when you're thinking about ads or running ads, you want to make sure that you run more than just one ad. You want to do testing. You want to maybe try 5 different ads to start and see which ones perform best. And then you can continue showing those ads and get rid of the ones that aren't performing as well. Because a lot of times what I see is brands will just put one ad up and maybe that's not working. And so then you can't really look at why that one was working versus others. So it's great to have a reference point and do A/B testing often so you can see what your audience is responding to and adjust on the fly. So the Instagram, when it comes to the algorithm, it's pretty similar to the Facebook algorithm as well, where it prioritizes content from friends and family members. And it also looks at what a user's interests are. So it looks at what profiles are commenting, liking, sharing, and viewing the content, and it prioritizes that. It always looks at content that is timely. So the latest, most interesting posts that are getting the most likes are going to be shown to more people. And also the frequency, again, is important here. You want to make sure that you're posting as multiple times per week, I would recommend on Instagram. And that also, the more time that a user spends on Instagram, obviously the more posts that they'll see and the more that will appear. So one quick tip for Instagram is it's great to utilize a hashtag strategy. So we talked about how hashtags are used as an indexing system. And Instagram really prioritizes, and it has a great search functionality. So it's great for people to discover your post by using this hashtag strategy. And you want to make sure that it includes 4 things. You want your hashtags to be searchable terms. So say you're an interior designer, you can use the hashtag interior design or hashtag minimalist or something like that. You want to focus on location. If you're located here in Lake Zurich, you can be hashtag interior design Lake Zurich so that people are able to find you within the area. And again, geography, just hashtag Lake Zurich or hashtag Lake Zurich IL so that, again, people can find you in the area. And then you also want to think about industry terms. Maybe there's an industry organization that you're a part of. You want to include that hashtag. So you're appearing, not so that you appear within your competitor's search terms, but when people are searching those interior design maybe groups, then they're able to find your posts as well. And so Instagram does allow up to 30 hashtags Depending on your brand, I wouldn't recommend always doing all 30. Sometimes it can look a little spammy, but you want to look at which hashtags you think are most relevant to your brand and use those within your post.
Let's talk a little bit about LinkedIn. A LinkedIn algorithm also favors relevance. So it's the right content at the right time to the right people. And also content from users who have engaged with you in the past and who post consistently. And it also favors content from users who get large amounts of engagement, even if you don't like or comment on their posts. So you may see something that got a lot of engagement, even if you're not engaging with it. And then it also favors comments over likes. So if you just give it a thumbs up, it's not going to favor that as much as if people actually engage with it. And the longer the comment, again, the more engaging your content, the more thoughtful the response from the person, the more LinkedIn will prioritize that. And again, it does not prioritize content from the business page. So users, you can use a business owner's or employee's profile instead of just the business page to post to try to get more traffic, more eyes on your posts or on your video. And you want to stay consistent. The algorithm will downgrade you if you post randomly, but if you post at least once a week, LinkedIn is good with that. Now at the top, I included the social selling index. If you log into your LinkedIn and then you go to this link and another tab, you can run your social selling index. And it's a scale, there's 25 points for each of these 4 things that it looks at about your professional brand, the right people, meaning, that you are engaging with more than just your friends, but people who, you want to do business with, the right insights and being more productive with your insights and building relationships, like how many connections you have and what you're doing. So run this. Mine's in the mid 70s. See what yours is, if you, a little competition here, and see how you do. And especially if you're in sales or if you're an HR recruiter, you want to try to get your social selling index up, because it's really important that you're participating and engaging on LinkedIn. There was something else I wanted to add about that. Let me think. I'm sure it'll come to me. Oh, I think I was just going to give an example. Oh, I'll get that later. Okay, so right here, this is where I want to get it. Bandwidth. So what is bandwidth? Time, expertise, and knowledge, and capability, as well as budget. So let's take a look at that. So one of the things that we want to think about is, how are you going to execute on this? I mean, you don't want to just start a social media profile and then abandon it. So have a serious strategy, a plan, and then do you have the time to execute it on? So maybe you have the knowledge and the expertise, but maybe you have it, but you don't have the time because you're busy running your business. Or maybe you have the time to do it, but you really don't have the knowledge or the expertise. This is where you might look to hire someone to do it for you. Or you may hire them to do your strategy and write your stuff, and then have somebody with, internally post on that. And don't assume, and that's where I was going to say, I did a social selling index with a group of sales reps recently, and the lowest one was in the millennial. The youngest person that was in the room had the lowest social selling index, even though he's like maybe 30 or something. So just because somebody's younger and has the expertise to do technology doesn't mean they have the expertise to understand social media marketing. Sometimes they may not understand the algorithm or things like that. So you want to make sure that whoever you put in charge of it really understands what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it, or hire somebody that can help with that piece of it.
And then you also want to think about, if you have priorities, if you have access to scheduling tools. There are a lot of scheduling tools like Sprout Social, Hootsuite, Buffer, Later Preview. There are tons of scheduling tools out there. So that can allow you to have the time to create your posts. You can create your posts in advance. You just want to make sure, if you do use these tools, that you're still monitoring your social media for comments and questions, and you're monitoring what's going on externally. So you can adjust those scheduled posts. Like for one example that I can think of is I saw once this whole pandemic hit and restaurants were shut down, I continue to see a restaurant that was putting out obviously scheduled posts inviting people to come in and dine in. So you definitely want to make sure that if you schedule your posts in advance, you're still monitoring those platforms and making sure that your content is still relevant.
Very true. So our learning objectives were to talk about 5 key questions, to define some commonly used social media terms, to identify and delve into 4 platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and to understand how business resources impact your social media strategy. So that is the end of our presentation. We do have an appendix included, so there's a little bit more information included with that. But if there's questions, we're pretty good. We have about 3 more minutes. So if there are questions in the chat, let's get to them.
Let's see. We have one from Holly asking, why is tagging on Facebook so often so difficult?
Tagging on Facebook. Facebook doesn't really use the tags so much. So they are not making it easy. What you want to do though is hashtag research, where you actually go in and you search different hashtags in Instagram, search certain hashtags and see what hashtags people are following in LinkedIn or Instagram, Twitter. All use hashtags pretty extensively. So you see what hashtags people are actually using, and then use one for your brand as well. You have anything to add to that, Alyssa? Another question?
Any other questions? What is the best? Oh, Nancy just asked, what's the best way to research hashtags? And I would say just go on Instagram and just type in some random hashtags to see what kind of posts you're seeing. You can kind of see the number of hashtags. When you start typing in the hashtag, it'll say like how many people have used it recently, so you can see which ones are good. And also you want to make sure that you're monitoring Instagram, because Instagram does have a list of banned hashtags. I can find the link to and send it out with this presentation, but there are banned hashtags. I believe like hashtag hump day is one of them and things like that, which will, if you use one of those banned hashtags, it will actually demote your post, and the algorithm will deprioritize that. So you want to make sure that you're also aware of what Instagram is not encouraging in terms of hashtags.
Right, and sometimes hashtags like that one can have double meanings, and even in business, like it means like one thing in your profession, but it means something totally different to other people. So you want to look. That's why you want to look at that content too that's being posted with that hashtag, just to make sure there isn't another thing that people are actually posting about.
Mm-hmm. We have another question. If I have an email database, can I use it in a Facebook ad to where those people will definitely see the ad?
That is a great question. So yes. So first of all, it depends on your email system and your CRM, how easily your CRM is your customer relationship management tool. So certain tools work very well in integrating between like Facebook leads and putting them directly into your email marketing. Was that the question exactly though? Say that question again, because I think it might be the other way around. Like they're wondering if you can put your...
Yeah, so it looks like they already have an email database and they want to target those people on Facebook.
So no, not via email. But what you can do is, if you know characteristics about the people, use that as a persona and target those people, like people who have interest in, like for our earlier person, people who have interest in travel, or people who have interest in, even like anxiety and depression, can be something that like people have interest in. Like there's different things that I've targeted for different clients that are very specific. And it's amazing what they have. but you can do the other way around where you have a landing page that people go to, and then you collect their emails and you get more emails into your email marketing database. And email marketing is a great tool. It's not as sexy as social media, it's kind of like, well, I hate that term, but redheaded stepchild. So of marketing, but there's a great return on investment on email, even though people get annoyed with too much email and things like that. There's still, it does create a lot of awareness, and is something you can use. So you can use social media to help get emails. Other questions, Alyssa?
It looks like Holly clarified her question. When she was referring to tagging, she was thinking of like doing the @ symbol at a business, not using hashtags particularly on Facebook. So if she tries to tag a business using the @ symbol, it seems like she's having some difficulty tagging those businesses, which I haven't really run into that. Have you, Nancy?
I think you may need to be following that business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That might be the problem. Sometimes the business, it has to be set up correctly as a business page and things like that. Sometimes companies are set up on the wrong kinds of pages, like on a group page or something. So that can be a problem too.
Hey, Alyssa.
Yeah.
This is Derek Hartman. I was having issues with that too. So I was finding that sometimes you have to add a space in there when you wouldn't think, you put the @ symbol. So for Lake Zurich area, I was actually having to put Lake space, Zurich space, to find these businesses, and there's spaces in their names for them to come up. So that's an issue I was having before. I only figured that out a couple months ago, because I couldn't tag businesses. So that might be something to look at, see if they have a space in their, I don't know if it's their handle or whatever they put in there.
Yeah,
So
thanks, Derek. That's a really good point. You want to make sure that you're typing in exactly the way their business profile is set up in Facebook. So you want to look at it. Yeah, if they do have spaces or if they have interesting symbols, you want to make sure that you're typing that out exactly the same.
Yeah. So hopefully we've answered a lot of your questions. I know we're right at the hour if people need to drop off. Alyssa and I can stay on a little bit longer and answer more questions if you have them, or feel free to reach out to our emails there. We try to, hit a broad spectrum of, the strategy and the platforms and everything, so that there's a little bit of something for everyone. But each one of these topics, you could do a whole seminar just on Facebook Live, or, several seminars on Facebook ads, and still have more to cover. So,
and Nancy, if I could just say one quick thing, that's a good point, is because this was more of a 101 session in the top view overline for everyone. If there's anything that anyone would like to learn, maybe in future webinars, to dive into deeper, put that in the chat too, and we'll take that into consideration when we're planning future chamber events. We'll dive more deep into maybe ads or maybe some different topics. So if there's any topics that you think will be valuable, please drop that in the chat too.
Yeah, it's amazing how much research and information is available on each topic in depth. I saw a seminar this morning that it was an hour-long seminar on just subject lines of emails. It tells you how specific things can get.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Any other questions, Alyssa? How are we doing on questions?
I don't see any other questions. Does anyone else?
Take yourself off mute if you want.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for attending, everyone.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Nancy and Alyssa, for doing this for us. I thought it was really well done, and I thought you provided a lot of information, lots to digest. Everyone needs to take a few-hour retreat to sit and think about their strategies and how to execute them.